In the following presentation, I will be doing a cross-cultural comparison between Italian, American, and Guatemalan education systems. Although the national language is English, in America, people speak many different languages. Unlike other countries such as Italy and Guatemala, students in the US are not required to learn a language until middle school. In contrast, in Italy, where the dominant language is Italian, students are taught foreign language at a very young age. Students in Italy and in Western Europe are required to learn language as soon as they start school, and all throughout elementary grades. After elementary school, along with English, most schools will require Italian students to learn Latin and Old Greek, which is very difficult. In Guatemala, Spanish is the official language spoken, but not everyone is fluent. There is a high Indian population, which results in over 20 indigenous Mayan Indian languages, which are used primarily in the rural areas of Guatemala. Like Italy, they are also taught English at a very young age, and they learn it throughout elementary school and high school. The main religion in Italy is Catholicism. Religion is very important and is taught in all state schools. In Guatemala, the official religion is also Catholicism, and like Italy, it is also taught in most schools. Since the United States is made up of various different cultures, there are a variety of different religions. Unlike Guatemala and Italy, religion is not taught in schools because of the separation of church and state. Cultural norms. In Italy, it is very normal for students to take breaks during school to go drink coffee or have a smoke break. Like the US and Guatemala, teachers will assign homework every summer, and it usually consists of completing a whole workbook by the end of the summer. Some cultural norms that United States students partake in are the Pledge of Allegiance, fun activities during the year such as Spirit Week and hallway decorating. Most students will partake in sports, and both girls and boys will participate. Some cultural norms in Guatemala include pregnancy at a very young age, violence amongst boys in low-income areas. It is very common for boys to play soccer during recess. Race. In Italian classrooms, you will find that most students are white. For example, there were 0 African American students in my class when I was in elementary school and only 2 students in the whole entire school. In contrast, the United States is very racially diverse, and in Guatemala, there are many Latino and indigenous students in the classroom. Seating customs. In Italy, students sit in rectangular tables, 2 students per table, and are typically placed in rows. Students choose their seats in the beginning of the year, and who they sit with become their best friends. Seating stays the same year-round, unless students are being disruptive. This is something that may be evident in an Italian student going to a United States school if they're used to having a certain consistency in their learning environment. In contrast, in the United States, the desks are typically singular, and the arrangement of the desks changes frequently, and also who they sit with changes very often. Guatemala in preschool, they usually sit in groups of 5 within tables, and after elementary, they change to singular desks. Here are some examples of what a typical Italian classroom looks like. Respect. Italian students grow to have extreme respect and adoration for their elders. When a principal walks into the room, for example, students are taught to immediately stand up and say good morning. In contrast, in the United States, being a teacher is not a very respected profession. Students often have little to no personal connections with their teachers. Italy, and unlike the US, in Guatemala, teachers are highly respected and students are taught to have formal relationships with them. Dress code. For elementary school, every student in Italy must follow a strict dress code. Girls must wear a white apron called grembiule, and boys wear a dark blue one. Each grade wears a different colored ribbon around their neck to symbolize what grade they're in. After elementary school, students are trusted to wear appropriate clothing to class. Though there isn't a stated dress code, there is an understanding of what is okay to wear. For example, skirts or shorts are not seen as acceptable school attire. In contrast, in the United States, not every school is required to have a uniform, but it's very common for schools to have dress codes. Similar to Italy and Guatemala, mostly everyone wears a uniform with the exception of a few schools. Khaki and polo or polo with jeans is usually what is customary. Room rotation. In Italy, from 1st until 5th grade, students are assigned the same teachers and same classroom who will teach them all 5 years of elementary schools. They don't change their classroom and they stay put while teachers rotate from class to class. In contrast, students in the United States have different teachers every year, and each classroom belongs to the teacher rather than the students, and the students are the ones who have to rotate between classrooms. Similar to Italy, in Guatemala, in elementary school, teacher moved rooms, and instead, like America, in high school, students moved rooms. Learning styles. In Italy, teachers are very heavy on lecturing and memorization. While teaching lectures, students have to write everything down and using a pen. Instead of passing out worksheets, teachers will usually use workbooks, or when it comes to activities, they'll write them down on the board and students have to copy them onto their notebooks. For homework, they're expected to do a set of reading and memorize it every night. In class, the teacher will randomly call and tutor through students and interrogate them in front of the whole class. Meanwhile, in the United States, there are many different types of teaching. I've noticed that there is a very big emphasis on group work and on reading and writing. In contrast to Italy, students are not expected to memorize very often. Similar to Italy, Guatemala also has a big emphasis on oral exams and memorization. They're very focused on teaching English, and they're very big on vocab quizzes, reading stories, written tests, presentations, and group projects. Unlike in Italy and the United States, in Guatemala, agriculture dominates the economy. Young children are often an important labor force in the household, thus enrolling them in school reflects substantial resources spared for it. Approximately 1.5 million children are missing school to try to escape living on the streets. Example of culturally responsive teaching. The examples from the Create Success model mention using relevant vocabulary in the lesson plan. So for example, in an English language arts classroom, you could be culturally responsive by incorporating vocabulary that is familiar to English language learners, but also teach the Americans in the classroom new aspects of different cultures. One of the texts that I chose to incorporate culturally responsive teaching is called All Kinds of Children by Norma Simon. In this book, Simon uses both neighborhood and international stage to celebrate children. Each carefully chosen example and comparison will help to form a connection to students and neighbors and other cultures. I really liked this book and I found that it was very similar to Same But Different. It teaches students that we are all humans and that we all deserve the same things. The message of the story is transmitted by using examples of how the same necessity is required for different cultures around the world. This text can be used to teach both empathy and cultural awareness. The second text I chose is called Celebrate the Holidays by Sophia Day. This diverse book features a range of families and diversity in positive ways. I would use this text to teach students to always be understanding and always respect one another, even if they might not understand something that might be different to them. There are many different cultures in the world and they should all be respected equally. The third text I chose is called The Day You Begin by Jacqueline Woodson. The book is about a new student from Venezuela in an American classroom who feels different because of where they're from. This book teaches students to see a different perspective from the point of view of the new student and to always be understanding of certain differences.